Okay. Um. This is the Danny lecture.
Yeah.
Feel free to ask questions if you have a question, but
Are
otherwise,
you
keep
recording
it
it,
keep it
Bella?
quiet. Yeah, I am recording.
Oh yeah, let's
Uh,
go.
Danny, feel free to start whenever you are comfortable.
Yeah, so I mean, people are free to butt in with questions at any time. Uh, I might have trouble answering them because like a lot of the stuff that I do, I just kind of do it, and I'm gonna try the best I can to like justify what I'm doing. But yeah, just let me know if you have any questions. I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. Um, so I am going to basically go over my personal process for how I mess with drums and shit. At least with drum kits in my music. I'm not really going to be talking about samples and stuff because I don't really use them an awful lot, though I do want to use them more often. Um, so basically, our lesson plan for today, I'm going to try and explain like the different parts of a drum kit and what use they have in like making drum patterns, how I personally mix them. I'm mostly going to be using uh, the Get Good Drums Modern and Massive pack, which is not free, unfortunately, but that's what I mainly use. Um, so I'm going to go over that for most of this, but I will go through a few like uh, free alternatives that I found that might interest you. I will link them after the lecture's over. Uh, I will go over them briefly before I get started with like my main like thing. So let's go over first the different parts of a drum kit and how we're going to use them. So we have our kick drum. So that's like the lowest one used for the downbeat. And it determines like the main rhythm based on like how you place it. The snare is like a noisier one, generally on the upbeat. You can also use it for fills. Uh, and there's like wires in it that determine whether it's like noisy or not. And if they're turned off, it has a more muted, almost like a tom kind of sound, and that can also be pretty nice. I'll go over that too. But this one is also important for the rhythm. The toms are the next one. Um, okay, these are like they're deeper than the snare, but not as deep as the kick. These can also they're mostly used for fills. There are a few different sizes, with like floor and rack toms being big and small ones. Now we're at the hats. So this is in the higher register where the symbols are, uh, and these can determine a lot of the dynamics and loudness of the uh, drums that you're going for, and they can be played in a few different ways, with like where you strike them and uh, how long they decay. The ride is a slightly different symbol. It can be used by itself, or you can use it in a slightly different rhythm in a song to kind of contrast with the hats. And then finally, the crash cymbals are like the loud, tinny ones that you can use for accents at the beginning of a like drum pattern, or just for like emphasis in certain parts of the rhythm. And then these are like ways that the drums can be mic'd, and we'll get to that in a second. First, I'll go over briefly some patterns that I made with some of these like free kits here. Uh, so this is the basement drums red kit. I got this from Piano Book. Uh, there's also this one from Piano Book. This one has the ability to split up into multiple different channels, though it was a little fucky when I tried to do it. I basically had to go into edit mode and go through the instrument buses. Uh, should be, yeah, somewhere in here, assigned all of the channels. I'll get to that shortly when I'm working with the Get Good Drums kit, because that's how I separate them. Uh, not It's not as like complicated as with this, but yeah. So I'm gonna turn off all of the effects that I have on it for now, but this is the pattern that I had made for this one. So I mostly, like, pretty much entirely have the hats just on like the quarter note beats, kind of tying it together. We have this snare, this crash, sorry, up here at the beginning, kind of to like after the fill, to kind of denote like a new section. Uh, and then the kick and the snare determining the basis of the rhythm. And then I'll go through these individually. The kick, I have an EQ, kind of bringing in the low frequencies, cutting out some of the mids and bringing in the highs. I do this with a lot of drums. Transient processing to turn the release down, make it a little more like punchy. The snare is a little weirder. So basically, we're accentuating the fundamental. I'm cutting out some of the more annoying, like resonant frequencies. Once again, cutting out the mids and boosting the highs. The hats, just doing some more transient processing, make them tighter, cutting the mids, boosting the highs. This is more or less just gain boosting, to be honest. It's not really doing any compression here. And then I simply just did some EQ on the crash to cut out the low frequencies. And then on the bus, I have an OTT. So this is more or less doing some like what is called parallel compression. So what we're doing is we're combining the original signal with an upward compressed version of the signal. So we have turned the downward compression all the way down, and the depth is at about 50%. So that is what that is doing. And then I have a thermal just on the soft clip setting. You can also use a soft clipper, but I just really love this preset for drums. And that's what it's up when that's turned on. So that's that kit. This one is one that I used to use before I started using the Get Good Drums pack. Uh, it's uh, it's kind of a not good sounding one, but it's also like more than okay. You can also split it up into like 6 different buses for the cymbals, the snares, the toms, and the kicks, and you can mix all of those separately as well. Though you would need to use like a few different libraries. I'm using this in Sforzando, which is like a sound font player, but it's also available to use in Reaper and in Contact, uh, and it's free. So I just did like a few patterns here. Let's see. It just needs to load. So once again, I kind of just have like a steady like hi-hat, but this time it's more like open, and it's kind of just more or less droning through the whole thing, and then some kicks, and then the snare is up here. Have this on the upbeat, and then like a little accent here. This one has the rides, and then this right here is like a rim shot. So we have like a bit more going on up here, and then we're just steadily using this, and then the kick uh, kind of keeps it anchored almost, because if we just muted those, like you're kind of expecting something else to go on, so we kind of keep that there so that the momentum is still like it's keeping up. But on that, I simply have, this is the new Aberrant DSP plugin Tectonic. It is not free, and you can just use OTT with the parallel processing trick, like I mentioned, if you don't want to buy it. But I would definitely recommend it. It's a really good plugin for tone shaping. Definitely recommend it. Once again, thermal on the soft clip for that. Without that, it sounds like this. And then I have here, now we're back here to these drums, also from Piano Book. These have the disadvantage, I don't think there is a way to mix these separately, but I think they sound pretty good. Now, normally in this case, this open hat here would be cut when you're hitting it for a short hat, because it's the same symbol. But these are just like playing back samples. But this would be what is called a motoric beat. You'd hear it a lot in like krautrock and post punk and stuff like that. I really love this rhythm. Uh, so this basically, here we're messing with the velocities. So if we simply isolate like the kick here, it's kind of going up and down, right? And then we have the hats going up and down like a different way. It's like, because when it comes to like the cymbals, you want to have like some variation in velocity for the sake of rhythm. Because if I just brought all of these up, and let's bring this back in. Like, it doesn't sound like nearly as interesting, I think. So the velocity is a pretty important thing to mess with as well. But that is another drum kit. I'll link all of these after the lecture. But this one, I simply just have like transient processing, and once again OTT with the parallel processing kind of thing. So yeah. So now let's go back to this briefly. I just found this diagram like on on Google Images, but it works pretty well, I think. So here we have two microphones in the kick. One is capturing the beater that as it strikes against the kick, and then the other's on the other side, like inside of the drum, kind of capturing more of the resonance of it. The snare has two mics as well, one on top and one on the bottom. And then the toms, the hi-hat, the ride all have their own microphones. And then there's two like directly on top. These are called overheads. And then sometimes you'll also see like a microphone or two microphones kind of a little further away from the kit to capture more of a distant, roomy like sound. And these are called the room mics. Uh, the kit that I use, uh, GGD's Modern and Massive, has all of these. So these are overheads and then three different rooms. So I'm going to go over how I separate these. As you can see here, there's like three different options by default for outputs. So what I'm going to do is open up the outputs here. And then I'm going to create like 7 channels, each with each in stereo. We're going to connect it. I'm just going to connect it to the first one, delete existing channels for creating new ones. And now we have 7 stereo outputs down here. So I'm going to now restart like right here. We're going to close this because we don't need to mess with that anymore. And now I have 7 different channels that I can mount drums to. So here we have a kick sum and kick sub. Those are going to be basically these 2 microphones here. This one is the one that captures the beater, and this one is going to be the other one inside of the kick. So personally, I'm just going to mute this one and only really mess with this one, but you can do whatever you want. These are 2 different overheads. The LDC and SDC stand for large and small diaphragm condenser, respectively. These are already double mic'd in this kit, so you only really need to use one. I'm going to opt for this one here. And then the room, once again, you only really have to opt for one. I am going to go with, say, the mono one this time. So this is just the one mic instead of 2, unlike these 2 are recorded with 2 different microphones. So I'm going to route the overhead channel 6 and the room mic to channel 7. And then it's going to be a similar type of deal here. We have, once again, we have the top and bottom microphones of the snare. So I'm going to put both of those in channel 2, small diaphragm condenser overhead in channel 6, and the mono room mic in channel 7. The toms I'm going to put in channel 5, and then the rest is about the same. And then I'll put the hats in channel 3, ride in channel 4, and then the overhead in 6, the room in 7. And now we have everything routed. So the kick is in channel 1, the snare in 2, hats in 3, rides in 4, toms in 5, overhead 6, room 7. So now we're going to go in here to the VST wrapper settings, processing, auto map outputs, and refresh because we're using different outputs now. And now, as you can see, we have our kick in 1. These are all in their proper channels. That is how I personally choose to separate them, but you can be a little more granular or a little more simple with it if you want to. Do I have any questions so far before I continue? I'm going to check the chat. Okay. I will continue with this then. So I'm going to change a few of these drums just for my personal taste. And I'm going to do a few different patterns in real time I'll try and explain why I'm doing what I'm doing, and then after that, we will work on mixing again. So the first one, I think I will try and demonstrate a few like key principles for programming drums that are more realistic. And I'm going to use this with one of my like favorite drum rhythms to mess around with. So first, let's bring the kick here. I might make this a little faster. Okay, so here, just like we have the snare on the upbeat, and the kick is mostly on the downbeat. We have a little syncopation here where basically you go like a little before or a little after like the beat. So it's not so this is like a little off, and that can be really good for rhythms as well. And then let me add some hats. This time I'm gonna make them really tight, really fast. This is one of my favorite things to do with this. Now notice I did not put them in where snare is hidden. And that's because like when you're playing these that fast, like a drummer is kind of playing them with both sticks and then moving one of them over to play the snare. So I'm basically like cutting the hat when the snare is being played because realistically it would be very difficult to play the hats and the snare at the same time in this particular rhythm. So now I'm going to mess with the velocities because as is, it's all just like the same. So if I bring this down and then back up, back down, and we're just going to keep cycling it like that. And then kind of repeat that down thing again. And that is basically uh, one of my favorite rhythms to mess with. I took it from this one song from the Walkman. I think it's called The Rat. It's a really fucking sick song. It's really fast. It has a lot of energy, and I'm a huge fan of like post punk revival shit like that. Uh, the next one, trying to think of what I should do next. Let's mess with one with with like a snare off sound maybe. There we go. And then you can use the one with the snare off for like more laid back rhythms like this. And then Now let's try one. I'm gonna demonstrate like a tom fill. You can tell that this is mostly unplugged. And then bring this up. There we go. Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of just like using a couple of lower ones and bringing them down. You could also put like a crash here, maybe. Where is that? Maybe make this like a 8 bar.
I just wanted to interject really quickly.
Yes.
Uh, Sorry if I'm like my intrusive thoughts win, but I swear that that this is like almost the exact same drum beat for like what do you want me to say? But it is dismemberment plan.
Oh yeah, I fucking love the dismemberment plan too. I love them
Yeah,
so
no, that's
much.
like I was like, wait, Daddy's at the dismemberment plan, right? Oh
That
yeah,
wasn't
also
intentional, but I love the dismemberment plan. It's one of my favorite
yeah,
bands.
but also this actually brings up an extra tip that I wanted to bring up. If you
Yes.
ever wanted to learn, like, how drumming works, I would say go gather some of your favorite songs, live drums or not, and just kinda, like, recreate the drum patterns and, like, transcribe them and shit, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I've
Really
done
good
that a good
practice.
amount myself. Yeah.
But, yeah, you could
I
continue on with your lecture. Just small little intrusive thought.
yeah. Okay. So I think I can treat this one in the same way. I might make this one a loop and I'll add a fill at the end. And let's do like, let me see here. And then let's bring like that. And then I'll bring like the velocity up gradually here. Or maybe like bring it like more constant like that. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. So now I think let's start mixing these. And I'm doing this entirely from scratch. There are no effects on any of these mixers. So let's start with the kick, I suppose. So once again, I'm going to boost like the bass frequencies, cut some of the mud, bring in like the higher frequencies of like the beater striking.
It's like some
Yeah.
sort of like clicking.
Yeah,
when
Discord
did-
just does that sometimes. It should
when-
go away by itself.
Okay, should I start the stream again?
I don't think it's a stream issue. I think it's more like something in the door.
No, it's.
But
It
if Danny's
is
not
a
hearing
stream
it, then
thing,
it's
but
gonna be a stream. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, should I restart the stream though?
Yeah, I can do.
Okay, hold on, I'm sorry. Technical issues. Okay.
You're good. I
Yeah.
just wanted to say something in case it was just me going crazy.
Can
Yeah.
name
Okay, so I'm gonna have like a transient processor on this now. Because I want like tighter drums, so I'm gonna go with ones with like a shorter release. Now here, I want more of like the higher frequencies here. I'm gonna bring the bottom mic up in the library, and then now I'm gonna bring the fundamental up. I'm gonna search for some of those pesky frequencies. There we go. And then cut some of the mid. And then boost the highs again. As far as the hats and rides go, I'm gonna turn them down in the overhead here, just because like there's already separate channels for those. And then cutting the bits here. Boosting that. We'll get to the toms in a second. The rides I do largely the same as the hat here. The overhead, I'm going to like cut some of the lows. Could probably, I'll put a crash here just to demonstrate. Because those are going to be in the overhead, at least in this kit. They don't have any separate like microphones, so they're just here. I like them a little noisy, so I love fastest. And then maybe some compression. I'm just going to use the drums preset.
Okay, is it just me or is there noise again?
I think it'll go away if you just.
Yeah,
turn
just
off
keep
that.
going.
Okay.
Sounds kind of cool, honestly.
Now here, because the room mic I picked was the mono one, I'm going to take a reverb with the stereo separation up, and then we can expand it. And then I'll do some compression here. Once again, kind of like doing like a high pass. And then I'll do a bit of leveling. We'll get to the Thompson stuff shortly with one of the other loops. I'm gonna put in I need like some kind of meter, so I have a reference. Because I try to do the drums to like -6, like I do everything else. Okay. And then let me see. Where did I have the toms? It's like right here. I'm just gonna. Oh, I can't just loop it. Okay. So what I do personally is a little weird. There's this other plugin called Spiff. It's made by the same people that make Soothe. It's used for like transient processing and shit. Okay, I need to turn on the automatic delay compensation. But I'll turn it on delta, so it only gives me like the transients that it's producing, and then I'll bring the K up. And so you see that kind of makes them tighter. And then I'll do some EQ. Not unlike the other ones that I've done. This kind of really don't like mids in my drums for some reason. My fault. And then some compression. Just on the drums specifically. And now I think I'm ready to do the bus. So tectonic. I'm gonna just mostly go off of feel. As far as like this thing here, what it does, when you bring this up, it increases the amount of both downward and upwards compression, similar to OTT. And the higher up above, like you bring it, it will make it louder and increase the compression ratio. When you bring it down, it only increases the amount of downward compression, increases the ratio, and decreases the volume as you bring it down. So that's what that does. In this case, for this low band, I'm just gonna bring it down some. Gonna bring the mid 1 band down some. I'm gonna bring these up a little high. Let's put on the punchy style. Okay, I think I kind of like that.
That snare is barking.
Gonna mess around with the levels a bit more. Might have these a bit lower. I kind of do a lot of this right here. And then let's see how it sounds with. So I mean that's more or less how I do this shit. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll try to answer to the best of my ability. Okay. So if no one has any questions, that's pretty much it for me then.
I was just wondering,
Yes.
is there any kind of like consistent thinking between how you get your kick and snare equally punchy, or is it just do it different every time, see what works every time,
Yeah,
and hope?
I mean like every time I do the mixing, I have a general like roadmap in my head. But I just like do it from scratch every time.
Awesome.
And I just kind of go by ear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Danny.
Yeah.
I don't have a question, but also wanted to say thank you, Danny.
Thank you, Danny.
Wait, I was gone for. I
Thank
was
you,
gone for a
Danny.
minute. Did it already?
I think if no
What
one
the-
else has questions, that's probably it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
that's pretty
That
much
was
it for
awesome,
me.
Danny.
awesome.
Sorry, I
Thank
was
you
gone
so
for a
much,
minute.
Danny. That
Like,
was
sure,
fucking
Yeah.
awesome. Very, very informative. Everyone say thank you, Danny.
Thanks,
Thank
but
you, Danny.
thank you,
Danny.
Thank you.
Wait, did I like your hand? That was
Thank you, Danny.
Oh
Very
yeah,
wonderful
I
stuff.
forgot. I need to link the drums. I'm gonna put them in the voiceover flow channel.
Awesome. I'll include the links in the YouTube upload as well.
awesome. That's so dinner.
So these are in order on the channel rack.
YouTube.
Sick. Thank you, everyone, for attending another Sleepy University session. I'll catch you next time for the next one. Actually, I don't think we have anyone planned right now. But
Yeah.
if,
Danny,
if
can you stay in BC for a bit?
If it's okay, Bella, I might DM you about the idea for
yeah,
in the next coming week. That's okay. Awesome.
yeah, that'd be awesome.
Okay. Thank you.
I really want to do one too, but I'm usually working on Saturdays, so
Oh, damn.
that's like I haven't been to one of these in ages because of
Yeah.
that.
Damn. That's like.
Would it be